You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham, and we are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube right now, first off, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and that goes for any platform you're watching or listening on. But secondly, if it looks a little bit dark, it's because it is. I'm doing this at night. It's 11:10 p.m. Mountain Time. The finals just ended, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe an hour ago. And I got a busy day tomorrow, and I had to get a podcast out before I couldn't be a day late on this. The NBA Finals just ended, Game 6. I'm first. You're hearing it here first, STB Sports Take. But that's why it's a little dark. I'm used to having a lot of natural light coming in, so apologize if the video is a little bit darker than usual, but I do have some good lights on so you can see me at least. But had to get in here and talk about this before I take off. I'm going on a business trip in the morning, and so I didn't want to wait clear till Thursday to talk about the finals. I might come back on Thursday and do more, but had to hop in now and get this out there because we just watched one of the absolute greatest performances in NBA Finals history. Giannis with the monster game, and that's just not your standard, oh, he had a monster game, like a Russell Westbrook 25, 11, and 11 triple-double. This was 50 points in a closeout game of the NBA Finals to go with 14 rebounds and 5 blocked shots. It was truly, truly a monster game, and Giannis did it on 16 of 25 shooting. So he was 16 of 25, 64% from the field. The rest of his team, the rest of the Bucks, were 21 of 57, which is 36.8% from the field. So Giannis had 50 of the 105 points, shot 64%. The rest of his team shot 36%. I mean, he literally put the entire city on his back and carried them to this title. I'm very, very happy for Giannis. And the biggest thing that surprised me, what did I talk about last podcast that he needed to work on and improve upon? His foul shooting. Tonight, he goes 17 of 19 from the line. 17 of 19 from the line. I will say, I do think that being at home and having the crowd just be quiet and respectful helped him a lot because he's been in Phoenix listening to the crowd just count quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's trying to get the shot off before they get to 10, even though it's 7 seconds in real time, right? So I think that played a role, but still 17 of 19 is way above his average. I mean, this was a clutch performance by Giannis. 17 of 19 from the line, 16 of 25 from the field, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, not many there, but he was scoring 50 points and 5 blocked shots. He had the Suns scared to death to shoot it. There were times where Booker, Ayton, CP3, different guys were right there in the lane for easy little bunnies, and they were like, nope, not even going to try. It honestly was kind of like the Rudy Gobert effect. Giannis had that going tonight. Stellar performance by Giannis, truly one of the greatest performances in NBA Finals history. The 50 points he scored ties him for the 6th most in NBA Finals history and for the 1st most in NBA Finals closeout game history. So it was that big of a performance by Giannis. You got to respect it. This guy has been on the rise. I tweeted this shortly after the game. He's been on the rise year after year after year. I said 3-4 years ago this guy was going to be, and I know I can't prove this. Maybe it's in my Twitter timeline if you go back to 2016, 15. But I definitely saw this guy as a up-and-coming multiple-time MVP. He has been. Now he's a champion. Finals MVP. He is cemented as an all-time great, even if he were to retire tomorrow, and he's only 26. He's just getting started, really. But anyway, I got to feel bad for Chris Paul. I got to say this real quick. I was really hoping for the Suns to win tonight. I was. I'm happy for Giannis. I'm happy for the Bucks, but I was definitely rooting for the Suns to win this game just because it's so much more fun to watch a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. In fact, I feel like Game 7 of the NBA Finals is better than the Super Bowl. I was talking to some friends. I had some friends over to watch the game tonight. I really feel like it's better than the Super Bowl, a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I would have loved that. So we didn't get that, but we still got a great Game 6. We had a fantastic Finals. I do feel bad for Chris Paul, though. The guy was up 2-0 in an NBA Finals in his 16th season. He's 36 years old. He's clearly on like the downslope of his career. He's got maybe a year or two left to play at a really high level. He's up 2-0 in the finals, and he loses 4 straight. He's now the only player in NBA history to be up 2-0 and blow that lead 4 different times. 4 times. The guy he just broke a tie with, who also had 3 of those blown 2-0 leads, Blake Griffin, his former teammate on the Clippers. So Chris Paul, not in good company there. Well, he's the only company, I guess, but not a good record to hold, being the only player in NBA history to blow 4 2-0 leads in the playoffs, and he has to do this one in the finals. Ouch. He knows how hard it is to get there. It took him 16 years to get there. The chances of him getting back aren't horrible if he stays on the Suns. They've got a great core group there. They just did it this year. They're very capable of getting back. But even if they keep the group together, what are their chances? 20% at best at getting back to the finals, just of winning the West. So many things have to fall in place for you. This year we talked about this over and over, how we hoped it would be the Jazz, right? With the stars aligning, things falling into place, injuries happening to opponents at the right time. They had to face a Jamal Murray-less Nuggets team, a Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers team. The stars kind of aligned for the Phoenix Suns. This was their time. This was their moment, and they blew it. And I think you'll see Chris Paul go down in the John Stockton, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing category of among Charles Barkley, among the greatest players to ever not win a championship. It looks like he's doomed to be there. And I feel bad for him. I've not been his biggest fan. He's now 13 games in a row where Scott Foster officiated that Chris Paul played in, 13 playoff games in a row. He has lost. That is pretty wild. I didn't see anything too egregious tonight. I wouldn't blame the refs by any means, but you do feel bad for him. He didn't play bad tonight. He actually played pretty darn well. He had 26 points, 5 assists, 11 of 19 shooting. 3 turnovers isn't bad. So he played just fine. It was Booker and Ayton that really let them down. Booker and Ayton combined for just 31 points. Chris Paul himself had 26. Booker should have been scoring 31 by himself, and Ayton needed to chip in another 18 or 20, right? That's what they needed from these guys. But they combined for just 31 on 12 of 34 shooting. So 12 of 34 out of your 2 stars, that's not going to cut it. Chris Paul was 11 of 19. So Booker 0 for 7 from 3. DeAndre Ayton, he's 7 feet tall, just 6 rebounds. To me, they were the problem, not Chris Paul. So you feel for the guy. And the Suns, again, they all kind of seem scared to death of both the moment and of Giannis. Giannis was blocking shots and they were scared to death. But there were also times where they were wide open. Booker had a wide open 3. He's 0 for 7. Maybe that's in his head. But he wasn't taking it. They were very trigger shy, and I think that cost them. So a lot of talk right now about how Giannis is for sure the greatest player in the league. Even guys like Nick Wright, who have been up LeBron's butt for the last decade plus, are saying that Giannis is the greatest player in the league. The torch has been passed. The crown has been set on Giannis's head. He's now the king of the league. I don't disagree necessarily that he's the best player. He's right there. Kevin Durant and him are like 1-2. I'd still probably actually take Kevin Durant as the greatest player in the league right now. With the injury this last 2 years, it's tough to say for sure. But I think Durant can do a little bit more than Giannis to affect the outcome of a game, especially in clutch situations. His shooting ability, ball handling. Offensively, it's really not much of a comparison. Durant has a very significant advantage. Defensively, I'd say Giannis has a good advantage, but they're both long and can disrupt shots and disrupt passing lanes, things like that. For me, if I'm going into next season just looking to win a title and I had to pick one of them, I would still pick Kevin Durant over Giannis. I would. Other guys I put on my list, I was just kind of thinking out loud. I want you guys to think with me as you listen to this. But if you're going into just next year, not the next 5 years, not the next 10 years, because that's where Giannis for sure is the best player in the league. If you're going the next 5+, right? Because Durant's getting a little bit older, LeBron's old, a lot of these guys are aging, and the other guys just haven't quite gotten to where Giannis is. So for the next 5 years, we'll just agree Giannis is it. For next year alone, though, just next year, who are you taking? For me, KD would be above him, then probably Giannis. You still got to give mad respect to LeBron and Anthony Davis, even though Anthony Davis has some injury issues. Full strength Anthony Davis, honestly, is probably better than Giannis. Let's just be real. Let's not forget how good Anthony Davis is. A full-strength Anthony Davis is also a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He's also an MVP candidate, and he's a better shooter. So a full-strength, healthy Anthony Davis is probably still better than Giannis, but he's rarely at full strength, so we'll give the edge to Giannis. Kawhi is right there. Steph, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Luka Doncic is on the rise. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. Those are some of the guys that I think are like the top 10, 11, best players in the NBA right now. And Giannis is up there for sure, top 3. If you don't think Giannis is top 3, then you just don't watch basketball. But I don't think he's the best player yet. I don't. I think he's right there at like 1B or at 2 behind Kevin Durant. And again, at full strength, I'd actually give AD the nod. But AD's not at full strength. Okay. The other thing is, did he... has the crown fully been passed? I don't know that it has. You want to know why? Because are the Bucks going to repeat next year? I'd put money down right now that they don't. And I don't mean to take away from their championship in the moment. They earned this, but the stars aligned for them just the same. He went against a very banged-up Nets team who never got to really in sync the entire season. We talked about this every single episode. It felt like we were talking about the Nets, how they need to get more chemistry going. They need more, they just need more time together. They need to be healthy. None of those things happened. Kyrie was out for the entire series against the Bucks. Harden was at like maybe half strength, half health. And then Durant was just trying to carry everybody, and he'd only played like 20 games the regular season. So that was not even close to a full-strength Nets team that Giannis beat. They were down 0-2 to that team, came back and won that series as well. That was impressive. They did still beat Durant. I'll give them that. But Durant had very little help compared to Giannis. So they catch a break there. Then in the finals, they're getting a Suns team who had never been there. Their veteran leader is Chris Paul, who is 16 years in, never been to a finals. So they're playing against a team who's equally inexperienced as them, and then even younger stars in Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. And so they just didn't really have the most difficult of paths to win a title this year. And so unless that happens again next year or the year after that or the year after that, I don't think the Bucks are good enough to repeat or win another title with this same group. I just don't. And I know that sounds crazy because they just barely did it an hour ago, but you're telling me that Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis are going to beat a full-strength Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant? Sorry, no, they're not. If the Nets can stay healthy, they will run away with it next year. They just will. That's the big question mark. Can they stay healthy? I think they learned a lesson this year. I think they'll be a little bit more in sync. I think they'll want to play more games. They'll get their chemistry down, and then they just got to hope for the injury gods to not come and bite them. But on top of that, like the Clippers, I think if Kawhi Leonard stays healthy, the Clippers beat the Suns in the in the playoffs and then go on to possibly win the title. I think I would take a fully healthy Clippers team over this Bucks team as well. Kawhi Leonard's just that much more clutch, in my opinion, and he couldn't go in the conference finals against the Suns. And so, to me, a full strength Lakers team, LeBron and AD at full strength, full health again, I think I'm probably taking them over Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis as well. And then you still have teams like these Suns team coming back and getting stronger and better. The Jazz maybe make an adjustment or two. They were the best team in the league in the regular season. So the Bucks are right there, top 3, 4, 5 team in the league without question. Next year they'll be right there. I would imagine they'll be around the 3rd, 4th best team in the league next year. But I don't think they'll be the favorites to win it all. I don't. I think you'll see the Nets be the favorites to win it all again. And I think they'll probably do it this time around. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks aren't even the second favorites. You'll probably see somebody out of the West, like the Clippers or the Lakers, be the favorites. I mean, you even have potentially the Mavs up and coming with Luka just constantly on the rise, getting better and better. Maybe things click better with Porzingis. Maybe they add a piece. I don't know. But the Bucks, to me, like they're a great team. They are deserving champions. I'm not taking anything away from them. but I don't know that this is like the start of some dynasty. In fact, if I were a betting man, I would bet that it's not. This is not like KD and the Warriors, like, oh, they're going to be back next year, or LeBron and the Cavs, or LeBron and the Heat, oh, they're going to be back next year. This is not that at all. I mean, this is more like a Toronto Raptors title, honestly. It's closer to that. It's not that, because we knew they were going to lose Kawhi. It's not that, but it's closer to that than it is to a Kevin Durant, Steph Curry Warriors team, or even a LeBron James, Kyrie Irving Cavs team. It's much closer to a one-off, Maybe that's just me being biased against the state of Milwaukee. I don't know. I actually like Milwaukee. But this just goes to show how hard it is to win titles. I mean, Giannis's loyalty might cost him 3 or 4 championships, honestly, because this guy, nobody wants it more than Giannis. Nobody wants it more than Giannis. He is as hungry and as humble as they come. And watching him after the game, just crying, just sitting there, he immediately just calmly walked towards his family, gave them hugs, and then he sat down in a chair and just sobbed. I mean, it was like so epic to watch that. Like, the guy wants it so bad. He's worked so freaking hard for, 8, 9, 10 years now, trying to get to this point, and he finally did it, and it's got to feel really, really good. And he's so likable. He's so likable. Like, you want this guy to succeed. I'm very happy that he did. And I hope that he can get another one. I really do. I think Giannis can be an all-time great. I think like I said, he already is. But there's levels of all-time great, right? Like, Allen Iverson is an all-time great, but he's not an NBA champion. He's not at the same level as LeBron or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, right? Giannis is in like a Dirk Nowitzki stratosphere now, and he can get to an upper echelon of a Shaquille O'Neal type stratosphere with another one of these. And so I would like to see him get there, because I think that nobody works harder, nobody wants it more, and nobody stays humble better than this guy. He loves his family, he loves his teammates, he loves his city. I would love to see him get one more. And I was talking to the same friends tonight about how much this could mean for these smaller market teams. Is this going to impact Damian Lillard's desire to stay in Portland and do it in Portland like Giannis just did it in Milwaukee? Is it going to keep Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert sticking in Utah and doing it in Utah? Or are they going to bail and go do the Kevin Durant, LeBron James route of joining super teams? Because those guys are racking up titles. And it's tough. It's like these, like I say, Giannis's loyalty might cost him a few titles, because if Giannis decided to just go join a super team, if he was just like, you know what, I'm going to go join LeBron and AD like a couple seasons ago. I mean, he could have won the first year, last year, this year. He'd have 3 by now. He'd get a 4th next year. But he didn't do that. He stayed where he's at. Chris Middleton's a great Robin, but he's one of the... He's barely below Paul George, but he is below Paul George. But he's not James Harden. He's not Anthony Davis. He's just not quite... He's like barely above Kristaps Porzingis, like he's not Paul George even, like I said. He's one of the lower end Robins, to Giannis being Batman, that is, among all the contenders. It's like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, it's like that level. And so Chris Middleton's not quite that guy. Drew Holiday's fantastic defender. The Bucks defense tonight was absolutely amazing. I think Drew Holiday had 4 steals. I'm going to look that up real quick just to make sure. Yeah. Actually, Middleton had 4 steals and Drew Holiday had 4 steals. Yeah. Their on-ball defense was tremendous, right? I mentioned that to my friends as well. But anyway, yeah, just finishing that thought. Giannis, he's inspiring guys all over the league. He's inspiring little kids, but he's inspiring his own peers to win where you're at. Like, this title is significant. Very significant. It's the first one in 50 years for the Bucks franchise. 50 years, and he scored 50 points. 50 years since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson. In the age of like real, true NBA basketball, like 80s and beyond, especially free agency and beyond, this is one of the more impressive title runs that we've seen. Again, the stars did align with some injuries and things like that, but it didn't take a super team. It didn't take a big market. It just took team basketball with one mega superstar in Giannis. Super impressive. So will it inspire guys like Damian Lillard to, you know what, I'm not going to get traded. I'm going to do it with these guys. We're going to work harder. We're going to be better. We're going to do it. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, are they going to stay in Utah? Because those are two superstars and teams that are kind of knocking at the door, the Jazz especially. Damian Lillard especially as an individual, the Jazz especially as a team. And you hope that this inspires these smaller markets and players to stay in smaller markets, not just bail for the easier title, because Kevin Durant was this close in OKC and didn't quite get it. Jump ship to Golden State. And I don't think anybody looks at those titles as more significant than the one that Giannis just won. In fact, I don't even think Kevin Durant looks at those as more significant than the one that Giannis just won. And if Durant gets one next year with the Nets, that'll look kind of similar to the ones he got in Golden State. A little bit better because he didn't join a super team. He kind of helped create one in that regard. But this is a significant thing that could keep teams, could keep stars in smaller markets that are really wanting to be loyal. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. It's tough because you want to win titles, you want to make money, you want to live in a place you want to live in. Milwaukee wouldn't be my first choice of cities to live in, although I have been there. It is a lovely city. I like it. It wouldn't be my last choice either. But you look at a guy like Kawhi, and it's like, I got one in San Antonio. I got one in Toronto. Those are very odd cities. Kawhi is like the common denominator between those titles. Like, those are very different cities to win titles in. The Spurs, of course, had their dynasty. But he's like, I'm going to go chill in Los Angeles now, and we'll just see what we can do, over here. So we'll see. I think Giannis will stay put for at least, through the next few seasons with his contract. But wouldn't surprise me if he does kind of a LeBron type thing later on, where LeBron went back to Cleveland and it felt like he was going to retire there. And then he got that elusive title for the Cavs and then bailed. And is with the Lakers now, of course. I could see Giannis doing that in a few years, feeling totally justified to be like, hey, you know what? I got the title for the city. I just went 3 more chances in the playoffs and couldn't quite get over the hump because of the stupid Nets or whoever it might be that gets in their way. And my contract's up. I'm now 30 years old, 31 years old. I want to go win another title. I'm going to go join this big super team. It would not surprise me. I don't think that he'll do that. And again, we're thinking years down the road at this point, but it would not surprise me. I hope, though, that it inspires more guys to stay where they're at and win titles. I mean, think of the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they had kept KD, Harden, and Russell Westbrook, I mean, I saw a picture the other day of all the guys that have gone through the Oklahoma City Thunder in the last few years. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Chris Paul, Serge Ibaka. Like, the list just went on and on and on. I mean, those are some of the absolute best players in the NBA. They all went through the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they don't even have a finals appearance to show for it outside of that one clear back in 2010 with the core 3 of Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. If those guys had stuck together, they'd have several titles. Several. So I hope that guys like Gobert, Donovan, look at that and be like, you know what? Let's do that. Because there's a chance. They need one more, though. The Jazz got to get one more guy to add to the mix, and they can do it. All right. This was a very quick, impromptu podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you are watching or listening on. Share it with your friends. You guys are awesome. I will see you next time. I am out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out STBSportsTake.com. Simply the best in sports.
'Cause we are